Boom. Okay. So enemy team, they're wherever, they're doing whatever. Your team, they're wherever, they're doing whatever. If you are here behind them, then the enemy team can hide behind a single corner, they can shield in a single direction, they can shoot back in one direction, they can deal with all of this very easily because it's all coming from one place. And you might not see this very often in gold, but they have the option to peek you, shoot, and then when they take damage, go behind cover and stop taking damage at any point, heal up, get their resources back, go back to shooting you. It's really hard for your team to push into them like this. I'll just clean that up a bit because it's getting messy. All right, so here's our wall, yeah? So if you are on an off angle, for example, well, now the enemy team has a couple of options, right? They got some problems to deal with. They can split their resources along two fronts, which is really difficult to do, especially in a ranked game, to like split your resources evenly. And then if they do, there's like some counterplay options from there. I'm not going to go too deep into like the next level stuff just yet, but like keeping this at a basic level, right? Their other options are to split their resources unevenly, which means if two people are looking at you and you have cover and you like don't die, right? You can just keep them looking at you, but they can't actually kill you. Then the rest of your team is taking a 4v3 without them. Yeah? Which, they'll likely win. Option 3, is they can back up far enough that these two angles effectively become one that they can deal with again. So there's this idea that it's the tank's job to make space for their team, and that was only kind of true in Overwatch 1, and in Overwatch 2, it's not possible for any single hero to make space. Really, yeah? You can just go around them. So, what makes space for your team is the balance of the DPS and the tanks. So, when your front line walks in, the enemy team looks at them and starts fighting them, right? And if they don't, your front line will just run over them. So the idea with these tanks that are impossible to kill is they get in your face and they make you have to deal with them, yeah? So once they're dealing with your front line, that makes space for you to take an off angle. When you take an off angle, that helps force the enemy back or peels resources off of your front line. Either way, make space for them to push. When they push and get back in the enemy's face, that makes space for you to push your off angle even further, which makes space for them to push even further. There's this sort of leapfrog effect. But what that means is this entire first fight, you're behind your team. You are not helping to create any amount of pressure to help your team push. Playing right here, you either get a kill or you do air. That's all. Right here, even if you miss every single shot, if you're annoying enough and a big enough threat, you can still split enough resources that you win the fight. It's obviously better to get the kill, right? But this positioning has inherent value all on its own. Yeah? That is in addition to however many shots you hit. In addition to it also making your shots easier to hit. Again, this is something you probably already know fairly intimately, but for those watching at home, here's a hitbox. We'll just use this one, Mercy, as an example, yeah? So if we're shooting this Mercy and she's looking at us, she's aware of us, she'll have random movement that might be hard to hit, yeah? But if she is ADing someone and you pop up 90 degrees to her, it looks like this. It's the easiest headshot in the world to hit. Her head is just getting slightly bigger and smaller. It's not actually moving relative to you, right? In addition to the fact that she's less likely to even be aware of you in the first place. So, we'll back up and I'll try to help you a bit with the timing, but at some point... Ooh, actually, you know what? Let me draw one more thing and then we're going to go back into this. This is like probably the last thing I'm going to draw. Oh, hey, sorry guys, I'm sorry, I just saw that. Can anyone send VODs to you? Lucio main? Oh, hell yeah. Yeah. And new people get skipped to the front of the line. I have one other new person today, but if you want, I can do yours like in an hour or so, hour and a half maybe. Um, but yeah, NGC link the Discord. You could just post it in there in the VOD reviews channel. But I digress. So almost every part of every map in this game is built on 3 lanes. They get a little bit funky sometimes, especially when they start curving, and like some maps get really weird. Some have 2, some have 4, some like was it Havana Third Point? That bridge is a single lane. And I kind of have this like little pet theory that the most hated maps in the game, like the least fun maps, tend to be the ones that break the hardest from this 3-lane rule. So like it's not universal, but it's something to look for, and it really helps with your positioning, especially since, well, first off, you usually have lanes intersecting lanes, so you end up with this grid, right? So cart path down the middle. This is where probably your tank, but your team is going to push. Yeah, they're going to be pushing the cart this way, which means before this game even starts, we know that as soon as we feel safe to do so, we need to take up a position on this lane or this lane. And which one we choose is going to depend on where the enemy is, where our team goes, everything that's going on, right? But you need to vibe on the outsides of these maps. These are the flank angles, yeah? And this does 2 things if you're on these spots. One, it gets you that crossfire angle that just causes hell for the enemy team. Yeah, makes your shots easier, all of those other good things I just talked about. But it also physically puts you in the way of an enemy DPS doing this to your team, yeah? Not that they... I mean, I guess Genji could come up and over here, right? But if you're there, Genji would have to go through you. Now, you might not want to take the duel with the Genji, but if you have your hook and can get out, it's fine, yeah? Because you can still put some pressure on the Genji, leave, and keep contesting the Genji or tell your team about the Genji, however you want to deal with that Genji, right? You don't have to just stay here forever and hard take the duel if you don't feel you can win it. If you can win it, that's awesome, but like... yeah. That's enough of drawing. We're gonna go through and watch this first fight again.